Alright, so I decided to keep my recent Naughty Dog streak going and try out their next big series they put out after Jak and Daxter, of course being Uncharted, my first time playing it. Finished the second game right after too, so we'll talk about that one as well. Not gonna lie, I'm a little surprised I played this series before I played Tomb Raider, just because they are often compared. I haven't played either, so I don't know how warranted that is or not, but I just always figured there's a lot more Tomb Raider games, and they're a lot more accessible on different platforms and such. And I kind of wanted to play them both about an equal amount, but here we are. I did have a concern going into these games. Granted, I thought maybe this was more of a thing with The Last of Us, but I feel like I've also heard people say similar stuff about Uncharted being more like an interactable movie rather than a video game. If I'm remembering that correctly, I feel like that's a pretty unfair assessment, at least for the first couple games, especially the first one. These are both very linear games, but I feel like the puzzles and overall level design of the first game felt a bit more open and interconnected. Like, I only remember like two major-ish puzzle areas in the second game in general that weren't just find the path to progress to the next area. Despite Uncharted 2, in my opinion, falling a little bit flat in that regard, I still feel like I enjoyed that one better, mainly because of the combat. So I played through these games on original PS3 hardware, mainly because I heard mixed things about its playability on RPCS3, at least without major, settings or patches or whatnot. And I just absolutely hate playing shooters with a gamepad. I need a mouse and keyboard, plain and simple. And luckily, the second game on its easy mode is almost like GTA, where you kind of lock on when you aim and your reticle will loosely follow someone if they're moving. So that overall just wasn't more tolerable. It was fun, as opposed to the first game, where there were many points where I felt like it was more frustrating than it may have been worth at times. I remember repeating the chapel level over and over again in the one big shootout you have there. The second game does have several other smaller pluses. I mean, the graphics were noticeably better. You had better overall cast of characters and story. I felt like the environments were more memorable and unique as you move to different areas. But, the big stuff is the combat and level/puzzle design. And my sweet spot would have been if we had Uncharted 1 level/puzzle design with Uncharted 2 combat. I don't know if they ever did that I know they did a re-release on PS4, I believe, or if they would do that if they ever did another one and brought it to Steam potentially. Something that's kind of funny though is, even though I much preferred Uncharted 2's combat, I thought the supernatural enemies you fought in Uncharted 1 were more fun than the ones in Uncharted 2, even with the worst combat. Let's talk completion and collectibles. I'd like to think I'm decent at combing through all of the nooks and crannies of levels and finding everything. Uncharted, though, these games are one of the ones that really humbled me with that. Granted, the approach of shiny thing on the ground can sometimes just not catch your eye as well. I will say sometimes when I go back and I try to get collectibles, I'll be hitting myself on the head like, oh, I'm stupid. I should have known to check there. I didn't feel that as much as I went through a little bit of trying to 100% some levels in that. I don't know. I wish they almost had one of those hot and cold radars so you at least know if you're in an area, you know to really check things, or you know if you want to go for completion, you shouldn't leave here yet. Especially with such linear games without quick travel in that. Like, I really did enjoy the second game and I did want to go through and get all the collectibles, but granted, I will give credit where credit's due. I really enjoyed some of the different modifiers that you can unlock in that. Especially around the time this came out, too, because I feel like this was around the point where that sort of thing was starting to fade away, so it was a nice surprise, especially Mirror World. Unfortunately, though, all of that still didn't really carry me through having to replay through the majority of levels again because I was pretty much missing something, and I think all but one level in Uncharted 2. And I was able to go on for a little bit, but it eventually just got to the point where I was kind of getting bored with it. Was starting to even, dread having to go and try to complete it before I start something else. And that's the point where you really just have to wonder what you're doing if you're still trying to push through it, It is a shame, though, but it is, at least for me, a really tough sell to, replay stuff without significant additions and modifications. And despite its efforts, it just kind of fell short for me here. Especially without, checkpoints to maybe get you a little closer if you miss something at the end of the level with, a quick travel thing, or even just... I feel like this is one of the games, too, where unless, you're a professional speedrunner, like even going through everything and knowing some of the stuff, you're going to be shaving off so little time to where it doesn't really feel any different or more fulfilling in any way. What they did with the prologue in the second game didn't help either. So the prologue was cool and all, but it's like a preview for something that happens later, and when you get to that point in the story, you do pretty much replay a lot of that area. So that could have definitely be a big momentum breaker for me. Having to go through those levels again for collectibles and, essentially go through the one segment 4 times at that point. Something I'm hoping Uncharted 3 doesn't do. Like I said, my attempt at completion in 2 did sort of kill some of my momentum for diving right into 3, so I am going to take a little break. I don't like promising anything because I know I've taken breaks from other games before, and then I'm like, oh, I'll do this in between, and then I'll get distracted with another game, and then a couple of years will pass before I'm like, oh yeah, I never finished that. I've been a little better, and I do have every intent right now to come back and do 3 soon too, and talk about it here as well. Side note, I'm kind of happy that I wound up recording enough footage because for some reason my capture card doesn't work with my PS3, so I wound up having to attempt to have things run on our PCS3. Actually, why the hell did I not try? I just used my gamepad. I don't even know why I didn't try a mouse and keyboard, but I guess that's more effort since I haven't used the mouse and keyboard at all with our PCS3 to set up in that. At least for right now, when I'm just kind of wanting to quickly grab some footage, but I knew I was going to be cutting it close because it wound up crashing, I think right about here when I tried to enter this door. Let's see. Since we're right here to begin with anyway. Yep, there it is. Right on time.